It's okay if they know that you don't like them, because there's a good chance that they don't like you. I don't think you have to be secret about it.
You're listening to Workplace Inappropriate, where HR professionals and their guests discuss real workplace scenarios to answer the question, what is workplace inappropriate? Co-hosts and HR professionals Kearin Lowry, Kate Owen, and Zoe Grahl of WorkforcePositive.com won't bore you with employment law or get right just about workplace conduct. Instead, they're going to answer real questions, like should I dance on the table at the Christmas party? Or can I tell someone their clothes are workplace inappropriate? Kearin, Kate, Zoe, and their guests are lifting the lid on some HR juice and losing the HR fun police tag. With their A-plus HR advice, you can have fun and still keep your job. Now, here are your hosts, Kearin, Kate, and Zoe.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Workplace Inappropriate podcast. I'm Zoe, and today I'm joined with Kearin and this random guy we found on the street. Average Joe. Yeah. So we wanted a perspective of someone who isn't a HR professional. So that is why this lovely man is here today joining us.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
So today our podcast topic is, do you have to like everyone at work? There's a difference between a professional relationship and a friendship, and you don't always have to have both. So we're just talking about ways you can deal with that and sort of like what to do if you really don't like someone. Like, yeah, it's hard. A little bit about Workforce Positive, which is our company.
Welcome to the Workplace Inappropriate podcast, brought to you by Workforce Positive. My name's Kearin Lowry, and I'm the Director of Workforce Positive, and we'll take a couple of moments just to tell you a little bit about us. We're a HR consulting firm. We're based in Queensland in Australia, and our passion is to fortify our client businesses against risk, to formulate their success pathway towards their future realised. And as a business owner, I know that your future realised is the zenith of all your plans and goals, all the hopes and dreams that you had when you started your business. So how do we do that? Well, we do all the usual things that you'd expect. Employment contracts, we do recruitment, we do success profiling, we do individual performance, learning and development plans, and we run workshops and team building. But what we're really passionate about is bullying and harassment prevention. The Workplace Inappropriate podcast is part of that purpose that we feel strongly about. Creating workplaces where people feel safe to be themselves, they feel heard, and they know they can come to work and enjoy friendships and engagement with customers and their job, and they don't have to worry about being harassed or bullied or sexually assaulted. That's our ideal workplace and an ideal outcome from our prevention programs. So in our episodes, we're going to discuss everyday things that happen in workplaces all the time. And sometimes they mean nothing. And sometimes they can lead to a very bad outcome for the employees and for the business. So today, we're going to talk about something that's pertinent and interesting, hopefully, and give you some tips about how you can show up and do your best at work and be workplace appropriate. If you have any ideas for our podcast, we'd love to hear them. We'd love to hear topics and questions. Q&A is always open every month for you to submit your questions. And if you're interested as a business owner in learning more about how you can create better workplace interactions and prevent bullying and harassment, then please engage with us. Give us a call on 0746 02 990 or contact us through the website workforcepositive.com to talk to us about our prevention programs. We have an efficient, effective, cost-effective program that you can access on a monthly or annual basis. It's my pleasure to bring you this podcast, and I hope you enjoy it. Let's take a moment to introduce the people that make this podcast possible. We have Kate. Kate is our HR program coordinator and my executive assistant at Workforce Positive. She's a current HR student at university studying business management, majoring in HR and maybe accounting, but she hasn't decided yet. Kate's passionate about equity. She loves to do the right thing, and she has an incredible work ethic. As a person, she's just a pleasure to have around and so funny. But do watch out for her hockey stick. We have Zoe. Zoe is also a student at the Australian National University studying psychology and international business. She's in her second year and about to jet set off to the UK for a vacation internship or exchange program. I think that's what it's called, an exchange program. Zoe has an incredible interest in communication, psychology, diversity, and she brings all of her own work experiences and experiences at university to the table. She loves to know why things happen, why people communicate, and how they can go astray sometimes. We also have our regular Joe off the street. Now, regular Joe, he represents just that, regular Joe. He's all about not being politically correct, not being censored, saying what you think, and letting everyone just be themselves. So thank you to Kate, Zoe, and Joe off the street for bringing your talents to the show. So don't let me keep you from this episode any longer.
So, first, is it okay to not like your coworker?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
100%. I don't think I've worked anywhere
No hesitation
ever where
there.
you've liked everybody
Yeah.
that you've ever worked with.
I think the key is, how do you not like someone and not let them know that you don't like them?
It's okay if they know that you don't like them because there's a good chance that they don't like you. I don't think you have to be secret about it.
I've been in situations though where someone definitely doesn't know I don't like them because I'm like not going to be outrightly rude, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I just want to say it. I just want to say it to their face, and I can't because they're like super nice.
Are they really nice?
They're not nice, but like they're not like, I don't know if I can say that. Like they're just like annoying, but they're not like trying to be like malicious.
Ooh.
That's a hard one because like if someone's not like intending to hurt you and then you just don't get along with them.
But I think there's a difference between trying to hurt you and you just not gelling with the person.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's all right not to gel with people.
Yeah, I think the key is like, where is it become obvious, right?
Yeah.
So I think we can all accept that we go to work to do a job, and then there's all these in-between bits. So downtime where you might be having coffee or going for a break. You might have lunch. You might invite one person from the office. Let's go check out the new sushi place.
Yeah.
And they're like, I want to try the new sushi place.
Yeah.
Me, I want to come. And you're like, we're going in 2 hours time now. Like,
Yeah, I know, but how
do you text each other or email and then like, I'm just going to the bathroom, and the next thing you know, you're walking to the sushi place?
Yeah. I mean, how do you do that without being mean though, you know? Because I feel like, there's a fine line between like going with someone that you're friends with because you're friends and like excluding people. Like, I don't know. How do you do that without being like a little bit mean?
Well, what people don't know won't hurt them, right?
But they're going to know.
How are they going to know that we went
Hey,
for
we had
sushi?
organised to go for sushi and hey, it's about 2:00 and you guys aren't here.
Yeah.
Where are you? I see you
That's
come back
even
and here you are
worse.
with leftover sushi that
Yeah.
you've taken back with you.
I feel like you've got to have like a workplace affair.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. But every time anyone's done that, it's come to bite them on their ass. Like they find out and then it just escalates the conflict.
So I feel like we could talk a little bit about what bullying is in this situation.
Okay.
So like purposeful exclusion or isolation.
Yeah.
So it's like, if I was to stand up and be like, everybody in the floor, we're going to go for lunch except you.
Why is Average Joe excluded? What have I done? I'm an
Not
isolate.
a
You
HR
chop too
professional.
loudly.
That's
You
okay.
eat too loudly, Joe. We just can't do it.
Yeah, but
And
okay.
then we all toddle off to lunch and Joe's left by himself.
Right. But what's the difference between you just wanting to go for lunch with your friends? How's it any different?
I mean, that's what I can't figure out because like if you like you're gonna gel with some people more than others. Like it's like the real world. You're not gonna get along with everyone at work. So how do you just like maintain a friendship with someone that you really like and not hurt someone's feelings?
I think it's fair to say that your break times are your personal time, right?
Mhm.
Like if you want to grab a coffee with someone or have lunch with them, I think the key thing is not making it really clear to everyone like, I like you, but I don't like you.
I would just not mention it at all.
Just don't talk about
Yeah.
it. If you're texting or you're emailing and then leaving at the same time, no one's even going to realise we're just having our lunch break.
Then we're being sneaky. Like, I don't understand, and I've said this before, I don't understand why you have to be so sneaky and aren't allowed to have any fun at work. Surely I'm allowed to say, hey, Kearin, I'm really looking forward to going for sushi at lunchtime. And then, you know, Zoe overhears and she's like, oh, I want to come. You're like, well, you weren't invited.
God, that's
I think that's so funny, like a man's perspective where it's like,
Yeah, but where's Zoe get inviting
Yeah.
herself to lunch with me and you? Like,
I think there's a level of self-awareness again that comes to it. Like if you are sort of friends with both the people and say, oh, like I'd like to go, like can I come? Like, and they say, yes, sure, like whatever. Or they say, oh, we're just having a personal lunch. It's like fine. But if you just don't know them at all and you're just inviting yourself, it's like, why would you do that? You know, like read the room a bit. Like if they're really close and you're not, I wouldn't invite myself in the first place. You
I
know?
think it's tough because work is one of the places where we make friends.
Yeah.
Like if you think about our social circles, I think they're actually pretty small. You know, work is a key place where we make friends, and you'll have friends for years that you don't work with, like you haven't worked with for years, but you're still mate. So to say like you shouldn't be like, oh, hey, I'd love to have sushi. For the most part, most people will be like, yeah, come have sushi.
Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah, it's a very specific like instance when this happens.
The problem is that you don't like them.
Yeah, so they should know that you don't like them and they shouldn't have asked to come? Is that what you're saying?
No, because most people don't come out right and say
like, I don't
like you. And I don't want to have sushi with you. The mind's boggling, right?
I don't understand why it's a big deal.
Setting up with a new work friend?
Oh, well, then you're just palming the person that you don't like off onto somebody else.
Problem solved?
Oh, God. Yeah, it's all for yourself. So maybe I feel like there could be, like there's sort of a quota. Like if you're going with a very like small group, if you're just going one-on-one with people, I feel like it's very valid to say like maybe not this time. I feel like if you're going with a whole group of people, it's a little bit harder to be like, no, you can't come when it's like.
Oh, that's a good idea. So let's say we're having sushi and you're like, oh, could I come along? The option would be to go, oh, yeah, of course. And I think such and such and such and such like sushi too.
Yeah.
Let's see if they're all free. And then there's 5
and then
of
you don't have to have like this awkward person you don't like. Then.
And then next time that, you know, you want to have a one-on-one sushi date, you just email. So maybe just have this kind of create some balance where you make it a bigger group or a smaller group.
Okay, well, what happens?
Don't consistently leave that person out all the time.
What happens then if you've tried to include somebody and they don't want to come? So they've excluded themselves.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but what I mean is...
And then you're left with the annoying person.
No. So let's say, for example, the 4 of you are going for lunch.
Yeah.
And you want to invite the new person and they're like, oh, no thanks.
Yeah.
And you invite them again and they say, oh, no thanks. And then you just stop inviting them. Is that okay?
Yeah,
I think so.
That's fair.
So they've made it clear that they're not friends with you. So we're talking about we are nice and we don't like you. But what happens if they don't like you?
Oh, then who cares? I think if someone says no a certain amount of times, I'm not going to ask them again. Like, I feel like that's valid. And if they were to come to me and be like, why are you excluding me? I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. I just didn't think you'd want to come because the last 4 times I asked you, you said no.
Sometimes in those situations, I say, oh, look, you know, you're welcome anytime. But
yeah.
So what you're saying is it's
asking.
okay for me if I don't like you to say I don't want to come for lunch. That's okay?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those situations, I think, are way easier
100%.
because, like, you're self-selecting out of the group.
Yeah.
Whereas someone who wants to be in the group, but the group's like, nah, it's way harder.
Yeah. I think the mutual dislike is where it becomes easy. Like, if you both don't like each other, like, neither of you are going to want to hang out. So, like, it's when you don't like someone, but they don't know, I feel, or they like you. But I don't know, that doesn't happen that often.
Where people like you, but you don't like them.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. Trust me.
Popular.
Average
No,
Joe. Everyone. Average Joe, join my team. Yeah. Well, I think this is often described as cliquey workplaces. So the cliques, people that are mates, they have their, you know, sushi Tuesday, pub Friday, and they like their little
circle.
Yeah, their routine. And people find it hard to break into.
Yeah.
And they feel a bit lonely in the workplace.
Yeah.
But excluding lunch, so let's say I just don't like you and I don't like to work with you.
Yep.
How do I still work with you in the office?
True.
Like, does my boss force us to work together, or do I just do my part and you stay over there and do your part, or can we be professional enough to be in a room without killing each other?
I mean, I think you have to.
Death by coworker.
I'm sure it's happened.
Fight to the death.
Yeah.
I'm sure people have definitely thought about doing it.
Probably.
If I just nudge you down this fire escape.
Yeah.
God, I'm never coming to work again.
Yeah. Get me away
There's no
from
fire
forest.
escape.
Yeah. Thank God.
Yeah. Problem in multi-story buildings.
Yeah. I think that there's a difference between like liking someone and being professional with them. So like if you're going to have a professional persona at work, like that's how you treat everyone, like blanket cover, like your friends, your people you don't like, and you just have to work with them.
A lot of the reason people don't like working with other people is they feel like they either do more of the job or they don't do their part or what have you. Like I get brought this conversation all the time, and I say consistently, just transparency is the key. If you have to do something with someone else, document it, write the emails, have the project plan, make it clear that you've done your bit, they've not done their bit. Let someone at the next level deal with it. You don't have to take it into your own hands. You just have to do your job, and you have to create the transparency, the framework around whatever it is that you're doing.
So telling someone you don't like them is not a an option at work? Or do you have to be
Ooh.
like, can you say, look, you just pissed me off? Can you say that?
No.
Or is that bullying? Or is that
Can
harassment?
say it.
Yeah, like,
There's nothing stopping the words from coming out of your mouth.
yeah, but then do you get in trouble? Does HR then get involved because I said I don't like Kearin, I don't like to work with her?
Sometimes.
I mean, what would the reason be that you don't like to work with her? Like, is it just because you don't like her or you can't work with her?
All the above.
Okay.
She smells real bad.
All right. Yeah.
Like she's
Makes
annoying.
sense,
She
makes
talks
sense.
really loud. What's some other ones? Lazy. I do all the work. She takes all the credit.
Well, I
Like,
mean, then you've got all the things to stop working with them and it's valid.
yeah, and your boss goes, I don't care.
Oh,
You
really?
got to work with Kearin.
Oh, God. Well,
Because there's only 2 of you in the office.
Oh,
right.
Lord.
Well, then
Okay.
Yeah, what happens? What do you
we'll
do?
fall from the boss.
Well, look, I think this is a classic reason why lots of people leave jobs,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because they do all the work and the people that are slackers, you know, like Kate's number one pet hate is laziness.
Mm-hmm.
She talked about annoying people. The lazy person annoys Kate. So I would imagine that if someone was in our office who wasn't doing their job and Kate kept doing her job and potentially more job of her job, you know, than she was required to, there'd come a point where she's like, okay, well, I could leave this organisation and just do my job and not have to pick up after this person, and that I've brought it up and the management team or the person responsible isn't prepared to have the hard conversation or do the performance review or set the work expectations, I'll leave. Lots of high-performing people leave organisations where the underperformers are not, well, they're perceived to not be managed.
Yeah. I mean, like when I worked in retail, if my manager knew, I worked at bras and things, so it was like all girls, like everyone was friends, but you know, there was some people who didn't like each other. If my manager knew they didn't like each other, she would just put them in a room and be like, why don't you like each other? You're going to have to work together, so how are we going to fix this? Like, what are the strategies you're going to put in place to be able to work professionally?
Yeah.
And you don't have to like each other, but you need to be able to work together.
Yep.
So, and that worked. So, I don't know, maybe it's just about like sitting down and having a conversation about it and being honest and being like, I don't like you, but we have to work together.
My feelings have been hurt. I've been offended.
I was going to say that's average Joe.
I'm offended. I want to get HR in here. I've been offended.
Well,
HR's doing the meetings.
do you think in workplaces we're being realistic about our expectations about work? Like the difference between working with someone and having to like them? Why do we come to work thinking that we have to like everybody?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's just certain people. Like certain people go about life being like, I'm going to be friends with everyone, you know?
Yeah. And so they get social rejection. And
Yeah, and people get really hurt by that. But I think when you come to realize like you can't force yourself to be friends with everyone, like there are just people you're not going to get along with, and just coming to accept that rather than like forcing it and getting annoyed by like the situation.
But what if you feel like you're the person that people don't like? Because that's hard too.
Is there a reason?
Do you have any advice for that person?
Have you asked why people don't like you?
No, I would
Imagine
say,
going up and being like, why don't you guys like me? I feel
So if you say it like that,
That's
because
so
you're whinging
sad.
and whining.
I don't think you get an honest answer.
No, you wouldn't, because I wouldn't be honest with someone. I would feel too guilty.
Yeah,
I'd be
like,
too worried about HR.
oh, did you want to come to our sushi date?
Oh, you can come.
Yeah, you can come. Please don't ask me a direct question about my
Yeah.
emotions.
Oh, that would be hard because like if someone's just like not aware of why people are like excluding them, then like how do you deal with that as the person being excluded? Some people are just mean as well. Some people have no reason to just not invite you. So how would you deal with that?
You've got to find your people.
Disliking people because they're being rude, you know, and excluding you.
I'd have a better time.
Have a better
I'd
time
go to
than
a
them.
better sushi place.
True. You start to get the one other person people don't like and you guys can team up and become
Yeah.
Oh, no one in the office likes that person, so I'll go. No one likes me. No one likes
Yeah.
them, so I'll go and find out. Maybe we can be friends.
That's a good idea, honestly. Just show them, be like, I don't need you. Yeah.
I feel like we're talking about school.
I
like
know.
the hierarchy
But
of
I feel like
friendship
that's what it's
groups.
like sometimes in the office. Like it's genuinely, you're like, am I in high school right now? Like why are people acting this way?
Yes.
Well, some people never leave high school, unfortunately.
Yeah.
True.
I was going to say, if it's like everyone doesn't like them, like you sort of have to collaborate at work a bit. Like, I don't know.
So question, when you said about your boss used to put you in a room,
Yeah.
what kind of strategies do they come up with to work with each other?
Well, I was never put in a room.
Of course not you, obviously. Because you got on with everybody and everybody loved you.
look,
So
Obviously.
like she doesn't get put in a room.
Well, I don't know because it was all not like people couldn't talk about what happened in the room.
Oh, it was
Ah.
confidential.
It was confidential. I mean, sure, people slipped some things here and there to me.
Oh, like a little.
So what did you hear that you shouldn't have heard then?
I don't know. See, the thing is, they all come out being like, that was really good. Like, I still don't like her. But, like, at least we know where we stand with each other. They know how they feel about each other, straight honest. Like, they're like, okay, she doesn't like me either. So it's fine. Like, we just have to work together. And, you know, if it's just as simple as just, like, forcing politeness and just saying, like, hey, how you doing every day?
Yep.
Just doing something a little bit nice to, like, sort of build that relationship and make it a little bit better than it was. That's sort of what it was like.
So if you were to have that conversation with someone, there can be positive outcomes.
Yeah. And I think another thing is I think they straight up told them like working wise was annoying them. Like they would be like, let's say like they take credit for their sales. They're like I don't like when you do that. Like it makes me feel really shit. Like I don't know how to deal with it. And then they're like, oh, sorry. Yeah, I didn't mean to do that. But now that I know that you think that, I'm going to stop doing that. So I think some people like genuinely don't know that they're annoying someone as well.
But if they are annoying,
Yeah.
Or like
listen to the other podcast, which was about being annoying at work.
Yeah.
But like some people just want to kind of really breeze over when they do things that are not right. But they really notice when other people do things that, you know, and I say not right, like, you know, ethically, like in a retail
100%.
environment, that whole, you get monitored, your sales are measured, right? So it's like, oh, I only did it that one time and I'll never mention it and they never said anything. And so therefore, like, it's no big deal. Whereas the truth is it was a big deal.
Yeah. I think people get really defensive as well. Like if you tell someone that they're doing that sort of stuff, they're like, no, I wasn't. Like, oh my God. And I'm like, I secretly think you do know.
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
just denial is the first option.
Yeah. And like admitting it and is like the worst thing ever because then, you know, being like, oh, I didn't know I was doing that.
So do you talk to your boss about this or do you talk to the person that's doing this to you?
I think you talk to your boss.
Requests like to go into a room with the person and sort it out.
I mean, well, that's what you were saying.
it out.
Take it to management. Like
Step
it's
outside.
Yeah, take it into a room and just punch it. Maybe that happens in the room. I don't know. Tears are shed.
Phone books come out.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Oh, God.
What does that mean?
Oh, I don't know.
Phone box.
Whack them over the head.
Phone books
Oh, the phone book. See, that's before my time.
before your time. Okay, righto.
Before your time.
Horse and cart before your time?
Joe, I just don't know if I like you working with you anymore, Joe.
That's okay. So you don't have to like me, but we can at least talk about the issue and then go our separate ways.
Respect everyone's opinion.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think you've got to come to work with the mindset that, you know, you're going to do your job. You're going to talk about the issues and try and not make them personal. Because one thing that does happen that I notice is the second that you don't like someone, everything they do will annoy you.
Oh, 100%.
The person next to them will do exactly the same stuff and you couldn't give it a second thought, but they do it and it's like you're enraged.
That's
like,
so true.
oh,
Like what? Yeah, I think it's a mindset,
Gotta let it go.
100%. Like if you decide that like they're super annoying, like everything they do will be super annoying. And then once you get out of that, you're like, oh wow, maybe I was being a little bit harsh. Maybe I shouldn't have judged every single thing they did.
Well, something else that I noticed, some people want to put up the wall, like I'm just going to pretend you're not there even though you're sitting right next to me.
Yeah.
That's a really poor strategy for people that you have to see every day.
Yeah.
And it has some really serious long-term consequences too. I think it works fine if you don't want to see someone in your personal
Yeah,
life.
exactly.
But not at work.
If you're sitting next to them every day.
Yeah, try and keep the
fun.
communication lines open.
Yeah.
What happens if you don't like the person?
You just still got to
And they're
find a way to
being-
do your job.
And they're being like mean to you, how do you still be the bigger person? How do you overcome this? Do you get your hate, like if you don't have a HR person, because a lot of small businesses don't, what do?
You've got to...
This is the struggling part for average Joe, is that if I don't like you and I say, look, I really don't like you, you really piss me off, well
I'll be
then
more specific.
I don't like anything about you.
Well, it's a bit like Zoe
You open
said,
your
like,
mouth,
you know,
don't
you
like
took
it.
credit for my sales.
Yeah.
Well, what is it about what happens when they open their mouth? Because surely everyone opening their mouth doesn't annoy you.
Just the tone of your voice.
Too
Annoys me.
shrill.
Sometimes it is.
loud.
Sometimes it's too loud.
I
Sometimes.
feel like that's the things I feel bad about. I'm like, sometimes someone just has an annoying voice and it's like, it's not their fault, but they just sound annoying. Like, how do you deal with that? You got to overlook it at some point.
Well, it's interesting because if you hear me, I can sound very, very young.
Right.
Okay.
Like if you listen to like a voice message or something, I can sound really young, really
You don't
high
have an annoying
pitched.
voice.
And I actually had a coach, like a professional leadership coach, talk to me when I was sort of in my 20s and say, you need to actually bring your voice down because people won't take you seriously if your voice is too high.
So I've got to talk even deeper than normal.
You really do. Right?
Someone said that about me once too. I was on the phone with my manager and then her husband was like, sounded like you were talking to a child. And I was like, oh my God, rude.
Rude.
Yeah.
But they have a point.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's not so much whether or not you're annoyed by it or not. Coming from a place of saying, you need to change your voice because you're annoying me, that's probably not going to fly too nicely. No. But did you know, like, you could drop your voice down a bit lower and it wouldn't be so shrill?
Saying that. Oh, I was reading this article about how to modulate your voice. Maybe you should
Shows
do
up
that.
in your email.
Yeah.
How to not be annoying at work shows up in your email.
I mean, anonymously.
Yeah.
Work.
Sometimes, I don't know, it's almost like you have to say to someone, I've noticed that you speak with a really high voice. Have you noticed that?
Just really subtly in a nice way.
Yeah, and they can be like, no, I hadn't noticed.
But would you do that or would you get your boss to do that? Because I feel...
We've talked previously about going direct. Going direct is actually the most effective way to give feedback.
Yes, and we've discussed this in the fact that if you go direct, then you open yourself up to possibly being called all these names. Oh, you were, bullying me and bossing me around and picking on me and excluding me and then all of a sudden you become the target when you were just trying to help. You're just trying to like, this is why I don't like you, and now all of a sudden you're the one that's on HR's hit list.
See, I
Got to
feel
fire
really-
this average Joe bloke.
I just think coming out someone going, I just wanted to talk to you. Like, Lisa is so passive aggressive. So, like, these are like the top 10 things I don't like about you. Can we talk about them?
If someone said that, I would leave. I would resign.
I'd be like, no one ever want to hear what you think.
And also people are just really passive aggressive. They're like, oh, like, why do you do that?
So would it be a good idea then, for example, for the boss to get everybody into a room so it's not one person being singled out and go, okay, guys, we've had an issue about people taking sales off other people.
Yeah.
Right? That's not on.
Yeah.
We don't do it. Like, is it better to do a group?
It's a classic, like, spread the butter.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's only one piece of toast that requires butter. We're going to butter everything again.
I don't know if that's effective.
It doesn't
though,
work.
Because I honestly think that, like, when that's happened in my workplaces, like, no one will give it a second look. They'll just be like, oh,
They're not talking about me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I feel
Zoe
like
does that. I never do that.
Yeah, exactly. No, I feel like I'm someone who always, like, I can't just tell someone straight up, I'm like, that's annoying. I won't be able to say that. So I'll tell my manager and be like, oh, just letting you know, like, it's not a great workplace environment when people do that. And then they'll be like, oh, fair enough. Like, I'll talk to them about it, but I won't, like, mention your name,
Okay.
So it's like an anonymous feedback. And then it doesn't make the person feel bad when, like, they know it's from a direct person.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think if businesses do regular performance reviews, so like we do quarterlies, for example, then there's an opportunity for, if you know that system is in place in your workplace, you can go to the manager who would be holding the meeting and saying, look, when you're giving feedback, this is something that I've experienced and I just want you to manage it.
Yeah.
And utilise an existing communication channel in the business as opposed to blowing something up.
What if you don't like your manager?
Kate just chimed in from the sidelines. What if you don't like your manager? I don't know. It depends on the circumstances.
I personally find, like, having a good manager is, like, everything to, like, a workplace. So if my manager hates me or, like, I don't really like them or I don't respect them, then I'll probably try and find another job. Like, if I can't, obviously you have to deal with it, but I feel like having a good manager that you have a good relationship with is, like, really important.
Yeah. Honestly, I think most jobs are left because of the people, right?
Yeah.
And that's just a fact of life. Some things won't change.
Yeah.
So if you think that your manager is one of them and you don't want to work with them, you don't have a lot of options.
So how do you effectively make changes in the workplace without being on HR's hit list? So if I don't like you, for example, how do I make a change without me being the one that's A, in trouble, B, lose my job, or C, I have to go and find another job because I quite like this job, but I just don't like you? What are my options?
Be the change you want to see.
Oh, please. That's great. That's nice on a fridge magnet.
No, but seriously, like if you let someone else get to you.
That was such a HR quote.
Yeah.
Be the
change you want to
see.
be.
I could go MJ, a man in the mirror.
Look, to be fair, no one's perfect, but what I mean is, so there's been times where I've been working with people and love half the room, we're all mates, and there's one person that's just an annoying, backstabbing, two-faced person. You don't want to leave the job because you like most of it.
Yep.
How do you fix or change or do something with that part? Do you just put it in the box and exclude it, or what can you do without you getting in trouble?
Well, maybe you could sort of treat it as like the things we've talked about, like do steps. Like first talk to your manager about it.
Mm-hmm.
If the behaviour doesn't change after that, then I'd probably do the room, like talk to them directly and be like, look, I don't really like you, this is why. And if you have valid reasons, like I don't think they should get upset. And if you have valid reasons for your manager, like you're not going to be on HR's hit list as well. So like after that, I feel like if it's still not changing, like there's nothing, I don't know if you can really do anything. If you've like told them directly, told your managers, told your HR.
And you've got to do it at the time that it happens.
Exactly. And if you're being really lovely and nice and professional and they're not, then it's not your problem anymore, it's their problem,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
But let's say you're having fun at work and they're spreading rumours and lies about you. How do you stop that?
You've got to get a hold of the rumours and lies, and then you've got to document them, unfortunately.
So I've got to do all the work even though I'm not the one that did anything wrong.
Yep.
Honestly, if I've
Huge amount of work for victims of any kind of harassment.
if someone was spreading like rumors about me, I'm like pretty confrontational about that. I'd go up and be like, why'd you say that?
Mm-hmm.
That's not true.
Yes.
But like if it's something like that they can't fix, like it's just their personality that we don't mesh with, then I would probably not directly tell them. But if they're doing something intentionally hurtful, then yes, I'd be like, why did you do that?
Mm-hmm.
To their face.
So it is okay not to like everybody at work, but if you don't like them, unlucky. Really? Is that?
Look, it's true. The constructs of the workplace really dictate that it's not always going to be within your control to change anything. And certainly if you have a not great situation with a person, if you bring attention to yourself by behaving negatively towards them, you're actually more likely then to move the spotlight away from what they've done onto you. And this is what you talk about becoming on HR's hit list, which is a serious issue, right? So you need to rise above. Like I know I said, be the change you want to see, and you said that was bullshit.
I said it was a lovely fridge magnet, but give me something I can actually use.
You've got to maintain your standard so that you can continue to draw attention to what they're doing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like be the bigger person.
Yeah, be the bigger person. So unfortunately, if it is rumours in the workplace that you're talking about, yeah, you're going to have to be told. You're going to have to go and seek out, like, what is the rumour? Where did it come from? Who is being told? And that is what you take to your manager or your HR. Because taking that to the person, there you have limited resources in terms of what you can do, right? You can't affect any consequence, or you can potentially get them to stop it because, like you say, why did you do that? You know, you go direct and be confrontational and create that energy that's needed for them to recognise what they've done is wrong. But you can't affect any change with regards to their discipline or their job or anything else. The only person that can do that are the people in the more senior positions of the organisation.
So if they're not going to do anything, your option is punch on in the car park or leave.
Look, if you think that bullying is systematic and ongoing and you've gone through the different workplace channels, there is in Australia anyway, there is an external hotline or reporting line called a stop bullying order. So if you've done everything you can within the workplace and you feel that there's still behaviour that's going on that is detrimental to your health and well-being and your workplace isn't taking it seriously or hasn't managed to affect any change, then yeah, I mean, it's not worth losing your health. And, you know, people have, you know, taken some really serious measures. You know, people being trolled or bullied has led to, you know, people taking their own lives. So, you know, it's never worth that. Like unfortunately, I wouldn't say common outcome. I don't know how you quantify that, but it's a very serious outcome that happens far more than what it should, right? Because people don't get the help that they need. The resources aren't put into listening and putting in place early prevention. So, you know, you could take it outside of the workplace if you think that continuing to bring it up in the workplace is not being effective. So a stop bullying order means that an external party in Australia will come in, look at what's going on, and they can put orders in place. Their only role is to stop bullying from continuing if they identify that it's happening. So, you know, like some of this stuff is unfortunately, like we can say, look, talk to the person or talk to the manager. You know, the truth is that some of these things actually require much higher levels of intervention to be effective. You certainly don't have to like everyone that you work with, but coming to work with the intention that I want to come to work every day, I want to have professional relationships with people, and I want to have meaningful, you know, prosperous engagement with people. You know, that's the self-awareness piece. If everyone comes to work thinking that, then you have a positive outcome for everyone. But if they don't, then yeah, we should be calling that out.
Yeah, big consequences.
Yeah.
So is that something that HR, like if you've got a small business, you don't have a separate HR thing?
Yep.
Is that where you can get some external people to come in and do a lot of that stuff for you?
Yep.
So it's not, you know, the boss sat me down and there's only 5 people in the business.
Yeah, look, the majority of Australians are employed in small businesses. So big businesses, which have HR teams and they have frameworks in place for, you know, hotlines and EAP, which is employee assistance programs, which is professional counselling that's paid for by the business. A lot of those things don't exist in small business. So I would say that's part of the reason why the Fair Work Commission set up that process or set up that hotline, so that everyone has access to support.
But before you do that, would it be better to get someone in? I'm not saying that you guys do it, but
Yeah.
do you guys do that?
Yeah, we can certainly assist in terms of managing complaints.
But so before you went to the stop bullying thing, because if I get the stop bullying people to come in, they're going to know, everyone's going to know that I'm the one that got them in and I've picked on you and you and you. And then my job's, whether they'll get picked on or not, I'm just going to be kind of ostracised from everybody anyway.
No one wants to be that person that's going to go like immediately to like.
Yeah, I would say that it's a last resort for most people. Most people don't want that kind of spotlight.
So if you've approached your manager, it's not getting any better and the manager maybe doesn't know what to do, they could get an external party to come in and help sort that before it escalated further.
Yeah,
that's right.
And they either lost the employee or the workplace harmony, if you want to call it that, falls apart.
Yeah, that's right. And particularly when it goes outside of the workplace. So something that happens at work, if you're then continually getting messaged about that or, you know, called outside of hours and that sort of stuff, and it's harassment, you know, that's really concerning. That's the sort of stuff that, you know, you don't really have any option but to get external support.
Yeah, I think there's levels to it. Like I just don't like this person, we don't get along very well. And then there's, they're harassing me, they're bullying me.
Yes.
Like there's levels to how you should respond to some people.
But I think it's important that we recognise that there are those external support networks.
Yeah, a lot of people don't really know about that, I don't think.
No, I think
So
it's
I had no
quite
idea
quiet.
that existed.
So for average Joe then, if I don't like someone at work, it's okay. But if I don't like someone at work, I can't ostracise them. I can't just cut them off. I have to try and include them.
Yeah.
And if that's not working and they're still annoying, I can just basically ignore them. But then if I'm the one being ignored because I'm not liked at work, I can go to my manager or there's other options available to me rather than just quit.
Yeah.
Because I quite like my job. I just don't like the people I work with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if you're being isolated or rumours are being spread about you or, you know, people are going out of their way to make you look incompetent or keeping you from doing your job, you know, that they don't, so that not liking you turns to, okay, let's see what we can do to try and get this person out of the organisation. That's pretty serious. So, and that's happened plenty of times. Like, I'm going to basically sabotage you until you get moved on. You know, that's happened to me. When I was really young, I had an executive assistant to my manager who would come along with paperwork for me for my job. And instead of putting it at the top of my in tray, she would put it partway through the in tray. And then when I didn't do the tasks, she would bring my manager and say, I gave this to her, you know, a week ago and it hasn't been done. And she'd find it in my inbox and she would present it as if I had, you know, let all this stuff stack up on top of it and not touched it. So I got into the habit of like methodically going through this inbox. I had so much anxiety about, you know.
That's terrifying. I'd be so stressed.
And so what did you do? Did you talk to HR, your manager, or did you quit?
No, I stayed in that job for about 3 years. What did I do? I made a point of going through the inbox and not letting anything ever be in it so I could always see when things were being put on my desk. I took things out of the inbox that I knew she would be looking for.
So you kind of did the sly.
It was horrible. Yeah, it's warfare.
And it's also hard to talk about that with your manager when it's something someone can also like deny, I feel. Like there's no like, you can't really have evidence for something like that. So it's kind of like your word. You're like, well, I don't know why this is happening. The only reason I can suspect is because they're trying to, you know, make me look bad. It's
Yeah.
like, well, is that true? Or are you just looking bad, you know? Like,
Yeah.
is that just an excuse? It's hard.
But I think part of it is just people want to assert dominance.
Yeah.
When new people start, it's like, well, are you
Weird.
clear of the pecking order here because
Yeah.
you're at the bottom? You know, so that it was just a different version of hazing. Like I think we associate hazing with like certain jobs. So like, you know, go and find a left-handed hammer, you know, and an apprentice
Yeah.
goes and spends hours
Garden paint.
yeah, that's right. Like we associate that with those types of workshop type jobs or really practical ones, but it happens in offices. It's just different.
Yeah. Oh, I think we've talked about a few good options. Anything else we have to say?
I think a workplace charter on terms of conduct and values. So like, what does this look like in our workplace? What does it not look like? That's really important so that managers can actually say, this is what you're doing. This is workplace acceptable and this isn't.
Yeah, you can have like a standard to hold everyone to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, a lot of managers feel like they're kind of left to the wind to try and navigate these things on their own, and there's not good infrastructure around them in the organisation. So I recommend that as well. The organisation needs to put in place the tools that then can be utilised as opposed to just, well, I like it or don't like it. Well, it's not really.
That black and white.
No,
Yeah.
it should be about what is acceptable in that workplace, not what that person likes or dislikes.
Yeah, true. Perfect. Well, thanks for joining us today, Average Joe.
No
Good
worries.
to have you back on the podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening today, everyone, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks, though.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us and listening to the Workplace Inappropriate podcast. As a business owner, I'm very grateful for the other businesses that we work with to make this possible. Our suppliers do an impeccable job and we're so grateful for Premier Sound and Lighting. Justin Myers, thank you for making us sound so good. Dave, in Ireland, we had to go all the way to Ireland to find the best production guy there is, but you make us look good and you keep it classy with your editorial. Thank you very much. To Anthony, our voiceover guy, you're the best voiceover guy there is. Thank you. Jess Ritchie from Transformational Brand Lab, thank you for our branding and imagery. It's just beautiful. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks for listening to Workplace Inappropriate from WorkplacePositive.com. Workforce Positive offers a fresh approach to bullying and harassment prevention training. Our training goes beyond the legislative definitions. We apply learning to real examples so that your team are equipped to make the best possible decisions on their conduct. With the Workplace Inappropriate Training Program, employers have access to monthly live training to induct new team members every 30 days, ensuring that you're always current with your legal obligations to actively prevent bullying and harassment at work. We have your policy, process, conduct charter, and training covered, all in one place. Contact WorkforcePositive.com at www.workforcepositive.com to learn more.